From above, Greece is a country broken into mountains, peninsulas, and islands. The mainland reaches south from the Balkans, then divides into long fingers of rock. Beyond it, thousands of islands and islets scatter across the Aegean and Ionian seas. Official tourism geography describes roughly 80% of the terrain as mountainous or semi-mountainous, while the coastline extends for about 16,000 kilometers. That combination explains why communities can feel separated by only a ridge or a narrow channel, yet remain culturally distinct. It also explains the power of the sea. Ferries, fishing boats, and merchant ships connect places that roads cannot. Greece may look small on a map of Europe, but its geography expands across water, creating a country whose edges are more important than its center. The beauty of the Greek landscape begins with instability beneath it. The African plate moves northward below the Aegean region, bending the crust along the Hellenic arc. Faults lift mountains, drop basins, and generate frequent earthquakes. Farther south, volcanic centers form a curved chain that includes Santorini, Milos, and Niceros. The result is a landscape of steep cliffs, drowned valleys, hot springs, and fractured coastlines. Even the islands are not simply pieces of land surrounded by sea. Many are exposed peaks and ridges in a partly submerged mountain system. Geological movement continues today, slowly rearranging the region while people build on its narrow plains and sheltered bays. From the air, white settlements often occupy the safest ledges, while roads twist around the structure of the rock. Northern and central Greece are dominated by the Pindus Mountains, a rugged chain sometimes called the backbone of the mainland. Ridges run toward the Peloponnese and continue through Crete, dividing watersheds and shaping travel. Mount Olympus rises to 917 meters at Mykonos, the country's highest summit and the mythological home of the ancient gods. Yet the mainland is not one continuous wall. Valleys hold farms and towns. Forests cover wetter slopes, and deep gorges cut through limestone. Winter snow stores water that feeds rivers and springs later in the year. This mountainous interior complicates the familiar image of Greece as only blue sea and sunlit islands. It is a high, folded country where elevation creates cooler climates, isolated villages and habitats very different from the dry coast. Athens occupies a basin in Attica, bounded by mountains and opening south toward the Saronic Gulf. From above, the city forms a pale urban carpet interrupted by rocky hills. Dense neighborhoods climb the slopes of Hymettus, Parnitha, and Pentelicus, while highways and rail lines converge on the ports and central plain. This setting helped create a major Mediterranean city, but it also traps summer heat and air pollution. Water has always been a constraint, requiring aqueducts in antiquity and modern infrastructure today. The port of Piraeus extends the capital toward the sea and links the mainland with the islands. Athens is therefore not only an ancient city, it is a living geographic system where mountains, limited space, transport corridors, and maritime access shape the daily life of millions. At the center of Athens, the Acropolis rises about 156 meters above sea level. Its flat summit and steep sides made it a natural stronghold, fortified for more than 3,000 years. In the 5th century BCE, the hill became the stage for the Parthenon, the Erechtheion, and other monuments associated with classical Athens. UNESCO describes the complex as a universal symbol of the classical spirit, but the aerial view reveals something equally important. The monuments are embedded in a modern metropolis. Apartment blocks, traffic, and public spaces surround the ancient rock on every side. Greece contains 21 properties on the World Heritage List, yet heritage here is not isolated behind a distant horizon. It occupies the same limited terrain as contemporary life, requiring constant negotiation between preservation, tourism, and urban growth. Southwest of Athens, the Peloponnese is attached to the mainland by the narrow Isthmus of Corinth. The Corinth Canal cuts through that neck of land in a steep artificial gorge, turning geography into a piece of engineering. Beyond it, mountains divide broad valleys and coastal plains. Olive groves and citrus orchards fill lower ground, while stone towns and fortresses occupy defensible hills. This peninsula contains many of the places that shaped the ancient Greek world, including Mycenae, Epidaurus, and Olympia, but its visual identity is equally physical. Repeated ridges, enclosed gulfs and roads forced to follow the coast. The Peloponnese shows how Greece operates at a human scale. A short straight-line distance may require a long journey around a mountain or across a bay. On the edge of the Thessalian plain, Meteora rises as a forest of sandstone pillars. Weathering separated the rock into vertical towers with rounded walls, creating one of the most unusual landscapes in Europe. From the 11th century onward, hermits sought isolation among these heights. By the 15th century, 24 monasteries had been built on the almost inaccessible summits. UNESCO recognizes Meteora for the union of natural form and human construction. The aerial view makes that relationship clear. Monasteries appear less placed on the rocks than grown from them, their walls continuing the cliffs below. Roads now reach the surviving sites, but the original logic remains visible. Elevation offered protection, silence, and distance from ordinary life. Meteora is geography transformed into architecture, and architecture transformed into a way of seeing the landscape. Across the central Aegean, the Cyclades form a ring of dry, bright islands. Their hills are exposed to sun and strong seasonal winds, while fresh water and level farmland are scarce. Villages cluster in compact forms that reduce travel and shelter narrow lanes. Whitewashed surfaces reflect sunlight, and blue domes echo the surrounding sea, but the famous architecture is also practical. Santorini reveals the deeper geology of the archipelago. Its settlements stand along the rim of a flooded volcanic caldera, hundreds of meters above dark water. Layers of ash and lava form striped cliffs beneath Oia, Emeravigli, and Fiera. Tourism has turned this view into a global image, yet the island remains an active volcanic landscape where every road, vineyard, and building must adapt to steep terrain and limited resources. Crete is Greece's largest island and feels like a small continent of its own. Mountain ranges rise above 2,000 meters, dividing the north coast from the warmer and more isolated south. Gorges cut toward the Libyan Sea, while fertile basins support olives, grapes, and vegetables. Coastal cities such as Chania and Heraklion grew around natural harbors and layers of Minoan, Venetian, and Ottoman history. Crete's position between Europe, Asia, and Africa made it a crossroads long before modern tourism. It also creates strong regional contrasts. Snow can remain on high summits, while beaches below experience a dry Mediterranean summer. From the air, the island's scale becomes clear. Cities, farms, cliffs, and mountains are not separate attractions, but connected parts of one self-contained geographic world. West of the mainland, the Ionian Islands receive more rainfall than much of the Aegean. Corfu appears greener, with olive trees covering slopes above coves and old settlements. Farther south, Zakynthos combines fertile interior land with immense limestone cliffs. Waves carve sea caves and isolate small beaches beneath vertical walls. The contrast between deep blue water, pale rock, and green vegetation produces some of Greece's most recognizable aerial scenery. These islands also face intense seasonal pressure. Coastal development, boat traffic, and large visitor numbers concentrate in small areas during summer. Protected nesting beaches for loggerhead sea turtles demonstrate the challenge. The same sheltered coast that attracts tourism is also essential habitat. The geography creates beauty, access, and vulnerability at the same time. Greek agriculture follows the limits of rock, rainfall, and slope. Olive trees tolerate dry summers and shallow soils, allowing groves to occupy ground unsuitable for many other crops. On hillsides, generations built terraces that slow erosion and hold precious moisture. Grapes, citrus, grains, and grazing animals complete a mosaic that changes from island to island. The sea adds another layer. Fishing remains culturally important even where modern livelihoods depend more on services and tourism. Food connects these environments: olive oil from the land, seafood from the coast, herbs from dry slopes, and cheeses shaped by pastoral traditions. From above, the pattern is visible in small fields, stone walls, scattered villages, and harbors. Greek cuisine is not separate from geography. It is geography made edible. The Mediterranean climate brings mild, wetter winters and long, dry summers, but the balance is becoming harder to manage. Heat waves and drought raise wildfire risk across forests, scrub, and the edges of cities. On islands, tourism demand peaks precisely when rainfall is lowest. Reservoirs, wells, desalination plants, and imported water all help, yet each solution has a cost. Coastal zones also face erosion, development pressure, and rising seas. Greece's fragmented geography makes national planning difficult because every island and valley has a different capacity. The response must therefore be local as well as national. Restore burned landscapes, protect watersheds, improve building resilience, and manage visitor numbers. The aerial view shows the stakes clearly. Settlements are often narrow ribbons between steep rock and open water, with little space for retreat. Greece has always occupied a crossroads between the Balkans, the eastern Mediterranean, and routes leading toward the Black Sea and Suez. That location supports one of the world's great maritime traditions, while ports, tourism, agriculture, and services connect the country to a much larger region. Renewable energy is expanding across sunny islands, windy ridges, and the mainland, although new infrastructure must be balanced against sensitive landscapes and heritage. The central challenge is the same one visible throughout this journey: how to remain connected without erasing local character. From the Acropolis to Meteora, from Crete to Santorini, Greece is not a single ancient postcard. It is a living network of mountains and sea, shaped by tectonic force, human movement, and the constant negotiation between isolation and exchange.